So what essentially is conversion tracking? And to kind of like take into consideration a couple of things before understanding the beginning of conversion tracking or the beginning of conversing about what conversion tracking entails, let's take a look at marketing efforts themselves. In general, there are a lot of things you can do in digital marketing to attract customers to your business, especially online and digitally, right? And so one of them is having a website, right? Getting traffic to it by organic search due to SEO, by running ads and getting people to your page or to a specific landing page, actually. And then maybe you got email marketing to either contacts that you already have in your database, in any type of database, whether that's a CRM or even an Excel spreadsheet, even though that is a little bit not suggested for at least a good number of people, let's say 100 plus types of database, right? And so what you essentially have is you want people to get to your website to actually convert. Converting and therefore a conversion is essentially the action that somebody takes to get in touch with you, right? To inquire about your services, to get information from your business in order for them to actually decide or even purchase right away, right? So decide to purchase in a time frame in the future, could be immediate, could be a couple days. It will largely depend on your business's cycle, what that looks like. But essentially, you are trying to get people at the door to knock on your door, so to speak, on your uh, online website, and then inquire and therefore decide to do business with you, right? So that is a conversion, converting somebody from traffic user or somebody in that traffic, like a visitor, a website visitor, into somebody that actually asks for information for your business, so a lead. And so conversions are very intertwined with what the meaning of leads is, right? So a lead, essentially anybody that gets in touch with you, could be even somebody that just requests a download or subscribes to your newsletter. Anybody that gets in touch with your business and actually wants to receive something in exchange for providing you with their information, most generally at least their email address, that's a conversion, that is a lead. Okay, so now that we have actually established what a lead and a conversion is, right? They're essentially almost the same because the lead is the actual person becoming a lead, so converting from a cold or warm visitor to your website into a lead inquirer of what your business offers, right? So when we look at that, essentially a conversion is that process whereby your visitor to your website becomes a lead, right? That's the first thing that we want to establish. Now, why do we want to track that? Well, because essentially, when you're doing digital marketing, whatever effort you're doing, you need to establish proper attribution so that you can track the effectiveness and or success of that specific initiative, right? Let's say, for example, that I'm running Facebook ads, or in this case, Google ads, right? Whichever type of platform I want to use, for running ads, whichever one, whether that's Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, programmatic, you name it. I want to be able to track my efforts. And so for me to actually do that, I need to implement conversion tracking. Why? Because essentially my ads, wherever they're actually shown, whether that's on Google Display, Google Search, Performance Max assets, so we could talk about like YouTube video, Discovery, etc. I want to be able to know how effective those specific ads are, how effective my ad groups and campaigns are, because I want to be able to know the people that actually converted due to those specific ads, right? And so that's the essence of it. I want to be able to know. It is kind of like you have a physical business, a physical store, right? Like let's say you sell bikes, right? And outside of it, well, let's kind of rewind a little bit. Let's say you're going out of business, or you have you're going through tough times with that specific business, right? I'm not saying that that would be your case specifically, but let's assume that, right? And so what happens next is that you hire somebody to actually maybe hold up a sign outside of your business or in front of the streets where it says, buy your bike over there, right? Or over here, right? So you want to be able to measure how many people actually convert by seeing that specific sign. So the essence of conversion tracking is the same. You would be able to attribute that specific ad that is being shown on display, on search, etc., is actually getting you traffic and getting you leads. And so when we rewind a little bit, why do we want to use conversion tracking? Essentially because we want to be able to measure if what we're doing works and if we should keep doing it or actually stop doing it. Now, in the example that we did just a bit ago, like in the last video, you'll notice that, for example, we were doing just one thing physically, right? We had somebody outside of our bike store holding up a sign, or in front of the street holding up a sign, maybe with an arrow of sorts, right, that said, buy your bike here or buy your bike over there, like get your bike now. And we wanted to actually use it to track how effective that is, right? But that is actually maybe not as easy to track as another example. Let's say that I get that same person that was holding up that sign to actually stop doing that, and then I give him some coupons for 50% off of a bike and tell him to distribute them on the street, maybe downtown somewhere or at a mall close by, right? And so if people actually come into my door, into my bike store, and apply that coupon, I will know for sure that that effort works. So conversion tracking gets as granular as that. It is because you can run ads on Google, Facebook, LinkedIn without conversion tracking. You can do awareness campaigns, clicks campaigns, and you're gonna get traffic. You're gonna maybe get some inquiries, but guess what? You're not gonna be able to know if that actually came from the effort you're actually making. They could have come from somewhere else, because in digital marketing, people can come from quite a variety of different sources. That could be organic search. There's even this other source called direct traffic, which is actually a monster in and of itself. It is essentially unassigned or unattributed traffic, right? So a lot of traffic from people who do digital marketing efforts, such as running ads on Facebook, Google, etc., if they don't have conversion tracking properly set up, they'll usually get their efforts attributed to direct traffic. And that's not what we want. We want to be able to get as granular as possible on even knowing which ad got them to convert. Like if you're running a campaign with multiple ads, you want to know which one is actually working. And so that is the essence of conversion tracking. Now, when it comes to the fundamental conversions to track, on a website there's a lot of things that you can do, but the essence of the most common conversions, especially for businesses that sell to other businesses, or so B2B, or services, or even maybe tech companies, and actually the bulk of B2B in general, looks at the following three type of conversions. One is the thank you page conversion. That is essentially somebody landing on your thank you page because they submitted some form, right? Whether that is to download an ebook, a white paper, whether that is actually to inquire via the contact us page. You can use the thank you page for a lot of different type of conversions, or actually conversion points, but the conversion is still the same. The thank you page conversion, that is the number one type of conversion that you may want to track. It essentially involves the loading of a thank you page after a specific submission. So that's how we would understand it. And the second one that is very popular is the button or link click conversion. Now that is how I'm naming it right now, but it is essentially pretty much covering pretty much any type of conversion that can be done on your website that require somebody to just click on something. So that could be phone number, email, even a link to an outside of your website page, let's say a referral link, etc. That type of conversion, which is based on a button click or a link click, is another type of conversion that pretty much covers almost all types of conversions that are not the thank you page, except the conversion that I'm going to talk about next, which is basically a form submission. Only that. And so, why are we talking about, if I submit a form, I could have a thank you page, and that could be it. And I could even track the submit button. So I essentially have these two before, like the thank you page conversion and the button or link click conversion. So Jorge, why do I need to track form submissions at all? And that's a great question. And the way I'm going to answer it is this. One of the most popular tools out there to capture lead information is actually HubSpot, the HubSpot CRM. And there's many CRMs like HubSpot. You got Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, and all of these great tools that actually will allow you to build your own database off of people that inquire and submit forms on your website, right? That is one of its many capabilities, but the essence of it is this. HubSpot uses a different way of tracking those form submissions than what I'm going to teach in this course. So you will notice that in lecture number 14, there is a bonus on how to track the HubSpot form submission conversion. And that's essentially it. So basically, the top three types of conversions are: one, the thank you page, which covers a lot of types of conversions or variations of it, so a page load. Two, the button or link click conversion, and that pretty much covers 99% of all types of conversions, because you can have a click to an icon, a logo, downloading, well, not downloading, but like a button that says download maybe a book, etc. You can track almost anything with a link click or a button click conversion, right? And the third one, which I find to be very important, and in this day and age, if you're a marketer, especially in an agency of pretty much anywhere in the world, you are very likely to encounter yourself with somebody or a client that uses HubSpot in some way, shape, or form, in any type of its subscription tiers. Basically, you need to know how to track HubSpot form submission conversions, which differ a little bit due to the nature of the code and how it is implemented, versus any other types of form or conversions via forms. And so that'll be the top three: thank you page, button or link click, and HubSpot form conversions. So the first thing you're going to do, the first step, is going to be going to the site of tagmanager.google.com. If you're going to be there for the first time, you're going to be prompted into signing up for a Google Tag Manager account with your Google account, whether it be a business email or a personal Gmail. It really does not matter. As long as it is a Gmail or G Suite account, you're going to be able to craft the Google Tag Manager account. And there we go. Now what we'll do once we're in a page like this, so you go to tagmanager.google.com. After you have signed up, you're going to click the Create Account button. In here, you're just going to fill in a couple steps, right? I'm going to call this business in the account name. I'm going to fill it as business landing page. And I will choose the United States as the country. I can select this one. I'll do that. No worries. It'll enable benchmarking by sharing my data. At this moment, since it is a free site, we don't worry too much about it. But if you want to dig deeper into it, feel free to read this quick information icon and select it as you see accordingly, right? We'll now proceed to set up a container. So in this case, what I have actually done is create a free site via a website builder called Duda. So in this case, you will see that my site is live, even though it is quite a large URL here, but we'll just grab it all. So I'll just hit to copy this whole thing and then I'll paste it in here, container name. Now I'll just have to remove the whole HTTPS. There we go. And then choose web and then hit create. Now I will consent and accept this data processing terms page and say yes at the top. Perfect. So now we have actually set up a Google Tag Manager account. Now the next step is to actually connect it in our website, right? So one thing that we can do, which is the easier way to go about it, is by going to our website editor. And for this, you may need a little bit of knowledge regarding how to add code if you actually want to do that. This is the only part where you actually will need a little bit, just a little bit of knowledge on how to add code to a website, but I can walk you through it and it'll probably be very similar to how you would do it across pretty much any website builder, right? So I'll go to my Duda site editor right here. So as you can see, this is the site and I'm actually going to go to the home page, right? Um, and in here, I have a section called SEO and settings. It can differ depending on which site builder you're using. So I'll just go to Google Tools, right? And actually, there's a couple ways to go about it. I may not fully need to even insert code in Duda because Duda can actually grab my Google Tag Manager ID and I don't need to paste in any code. So we'll go that route and I will also show you how you would add code. So if I go back to the Google Tag Manager and let's say I just ignore all of this, right? So I'll hit OK here. But I actually want to grab this ID at the top. So you see it is GTM-MJ39-2FJX. So I'll just grab all of it. And it is pretty much a copy and pasting of it. And I'll come back to Duda and then hit that on Google Tag Manager, place it in there. There we go. And that should be pretty much all that is needed. I'll just click this X over here to exit it, and then I'll hit to republish. Now we'll just wait for this particular site, and I may open it again in a new window. We'll just wait for this particular site to actually have Google Tag Manager enabled. And how we can check that is by going to Google Tag Manager, clicking on the ID right here, and then test your website, which is the third option. Put it in there and just test it. I would say that at the moment, right now, since we've just placed it, oh, there we go. It actually, I was going to say that it may not be fully functional right now, but the connection is fully functional right now. As we can see, we have a green check mark. So we can now proceed to the next portion of it, which is actually crafting a Google Analytics 4 account, and then via Google Tag Manager, adding the GA4 tag, which you will see up next. Now we want to go back to our Google Tag Manager instance, and then in this particular case, I'm going to go to the tags section on the left, and I'm going to click on creating a new one in this new button. I'm going to call this and name it Google Tag, and I'm going to choose a type, which is going to be Google Tag right here. Now, what I need to paste in here is actually the Google Analytics 4 measurement ID. So if I go back to my analytics, in the process that I was doing, this is the tag that we were just given by Google Analytics. So I'll just copy that to the clipboard, go back to Google Tag Manager and paste it in here. Yes, and then now what I'll do is just in this triggering section, I'll choose it and click to view to all pages, right? So page view, all pages, there we go. And then I'll hit save. And that's pretty much the very first step. Now I actually want to do a small implementation which will serve us on our way to implement conversion tracking later on, which is that you go to your variables tab right here, section right here, and then you click on configure, and then in here I want you to enable pretty much all the click elements right here. And if we may need it. You also will enable the forms uh, elements. And so now I'll just click the X right here to exit, and then I'll go back to the overview over here, and then I will just see that I have these workspace changes in the history right here, and just click on submit on the right side, right? So I'll click the submit button, and then I can call it whatever I want. However, I do recommend that we place something that we can remember or that we can know what it's about if we look at it in the future, right? So I will put Google tag plus enablement of variables, clicks and forms. Perfect. So I'll just repaste that into the description and click on publish. And now these changes may take a bit of time. Sometimes they're done almost automatically, but what we want to look out for is a couple things. One, that our Google Analytics, for instance, is getting data from the data stream that we set up previously. We want to make sure that the variables are enabled, which that mostly should have happened automatically. And then in the next video, we're going to check how to actually start creating events for GA4 via Google Tag Manager, which we can later set as conversions in Google Analytics, and which we can later import into Google Ads in order for us to bid on those via paid media. So the next place that you want to go into is Google Analytics, and to get there you actually have to type in analytics.google.com as a URL, right? I've done that now, and since I'm already logged into it and I already have an account, this is what I'm seeing right now. But you will probably see something as a homepage by Google Analytics, and you will see a button somewhere that says to start measuring, and in there you can create a new account, right? So if you already have an existing account, you will most likely just go to the admin section over here if you want to create a new one from scratch, and actually hit create and then account. So this is what I'll do, and then I'll call this one the same as I did for the Google Tag Manager account that we had created a little bit in the last video. So let's hit next now, and then in here I'm going to do the same thing. Hit next right there. I'll say it's a small business, and I'll say it is a business and industrial industry, and then I'll just click on next, and then I will say that my goal is to get baseline reports with Google Analytics, right? So I'll hit create and then accept the data processing terms and click on accept. Perfect. So now what I want to do now is choose web. And in here, I'm going to come back to the website that I had built, grab this whole URL and paste it in there. And I can also paste it in the, oh, and by the way, apologies for that. You actually have to delete the HTTPS portion of it. And then in here, you can repaste it and then hit to create a stream. Perfect. Now that I have a stream, I can absolutely, and you see that it detected that I have a Duda site. We will not connect it this way yet. I'm going to show you the next step in another video, which is actually to craft the Google Tag Manager Google tag for this GA4 instance, and which will only require us to connect the whole GA4 and GTM via one Google Tag Manager tag. So in this particular module, you actually saw how to install Google Tag Manager and set it up from scratch. You also saw how to connect your GA4 with your Google Tag Manager and actually implement a complete setup and installation of the two. And then you also notice how you can even set up GA4 in a very personalized way, which will allow you to actually implement conversion tracking up next in the following module. All right, so up next is going to be one of the most common conversion tracking types in the world, which is the thank you page conversion type, right? We'll just call it like that, the thank you page conversion. What does this mean? Essentially, most businesses, whenever a form or yeah, I'll just call it a form is submitted to, inquire information, or a contact us form is sent out, or something, or there's a sign up of sorts that happens, or a download, whatever it may be, that happens on your site. The easiest conversion to create for us to make sure that contacts actually took the action that we wanted is the thank you page conversion, right? And so what I'm going to show you in this video is how to actually craft that conversion in your Google Tag Manager and then bring it into GA4 just like we did with the click-based conversion. This one's going to be probably easier, but it's just a different set of steps. And by the way, if you are stuck in how you can set up a form on your website that will redirect to a thank you page, please know that there's a lot of documentation on that, and I'm actually going to leave some documentation in the description of this video as well. All right, so now if we go to Google Tag Manager, right, and I go to my workspace, in here I'm going to go to tags. And what I'm going to do is actually create a new tag, and this is going to be called the thank you tag, right? So I'm just going to create it now as a GA4 event, Google Analytics, GA4 event, and then going to go back to Analytics, and I'm just going to go to my data collection, data streams, and then I'm going to select my website and choose my measurement ID. And then I'm going to go back to Google Tag Manager, place that ID in the measurement ID here, and then I'm going to call this event thank you event, right? So I'll just leave it like that. Actually, I'll just remove that for now, just to make sure that we follow the same naming convention that we used for the previous conversion. So let's go to triggering. And then in here, what I'm going to do, since you'll see, and I'll just go back to my website, and this is a thank you page that I have, and in essence what I want is that anybody that lands on this page to be marked as a conversion. Keep in mind that I actually have this this page hidden from my navigation, so you can only access it if you actually submit a form or any of those actions that could take you here, right? So just to make sure that my conversions land on the thank you page, the thank you page conversion is going to serve that purpose, and this is basically my thank you page. So I'm actually just going to grab this right here because this is a very unique identifier of my page, right? So I'm just going to go back to Google Tag Manager. I'm going to create a new trigger, and actually we're going to call it the thank you trigger, and then I'm going to select that this be a page view, right? And I'm going to select all page views, sorry, some page views right here on the right side, and then I'm going to select that the page URL contains thank you, right? And then I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to also save this event. So now the event is triggered by this trigger, and then I'm going to save it. Now the GA4 event has been created. One thing though, I actually wanna test it out beforehand. So I'm just gonna grab my URL over here. I'm gonna hit preview in the Google Tag Manager instance, and then well, it was actually populated there, so I'm gonna connect to it. Now what I want to do is in here, and just to test out the thank you page conversion, what I'm going to do actually in here, where you see this right here, let's do this. We're going to close this because I actually want to grab the site itself. You can actually preview the site itself, so the page itself. So I'll actually add the thank you page here and then connect to it. Now you will see that right away, and if we just hit there, the thank you tag was fired. So that means that the conversion is actually working, and that's pretty much all that it takes, right? So the Google tag was fired because the thank you page was loaded, and that's going to be our whole conversion. That was easier than the last type of conversion that we generated, which was clickbait, and this one is also only page load based, and it's actually just a thank you page conversion. Nothing more is required. That should be it, and I'm just going to finish my debugging right here, close the tag assistant, and I'm going to hit submit. I'm going to submit these changes. If I actually have the, oh, well, actually, I'll just type it in, thank you, page conversion, and then I'll put that in the description and hit publish. And now if we go back again to our GA4 instance, and we go to our debug view. So remember, under property settings, that under data display, you'll see the debug view, and you can actually see the event here. So the event of the thank you page event is now created. Keep in mind that we're not done yet. Once these conversion events load in this events page section, right, we're actually going to be able to mark them as conversions. It just takes a little bit because the debug view is actually a live view of what is going on within the last 30 minutes. But GA4 may take a little bit to display that data for us in the events section. Once that is displayed, I'm going to show you in the next video how to actually mark them as conversions, and our conversion events in GA4 will be ready. Now that we have set up our GA4 tag via Google Tag Manager, we can now see that GA4 is actually getting data, and so the connection has been successfully made, and we have used the best practice of actually just creating one specific tag for both Google Tag Manager and GA4. This way you won't have any duplicate tags, and that won't be an issue on your site, which could sometimes, if it is done that way, when you have duplicate tags, it may slow down your site a little bit, right? So, but that's not going to be our problem. Now we actually have GA4 set up and Google Tag Manager set up. So the very first type of conversion that I want to create is actually a conversion for a click-based conversion, right? So what does this entail? Basically, Google Tag Manager will detect when we generate a click on a specific button or link that we find to be helpful for us, and we want to track that as a conversion event. So let's go to Google Tag Manager right now. And actually, let us go to the preview right here. Let's just click on preview. The first thing we're going to do is actually grab the URL. So I'm going to go back to Duda just to grab my URL correctly, and it's this one right here. And I'll actually just paste it in there in a new tab. Perfect. So I can grab it and have no errors in that, right? So I'll just close this out and go back to the Google Tag Assistant, and in here I'm just going to place it, right? And then I'm going to hit to connect. Now what we're looking at right now is that a new window has popped up, and it's actually the debugging instance of Google Tag Manager. In here, this is how it's going to work. We're going to do some testing, and I'm just going to explain to you what we're looking at right now. So I'm just going to kind of organize this a little bit better like that, right? So we know this is our website. And then I'll just hit continue on the left. We don't really need that, and I'll just open it up again. Let me open it up again. There we go. A few things. We're seeing a summary on the left side right here, right? These are the very first 6 steps that happened: consent initialization, container loaded, dpage view, DOM ready, window loaded. Don't worry too much about that. It's all in there, but what we want to do is now go to our landing page, which is on the debug instance right here, and let's actually go all the way down, and I'm going to say that I want to consider that a click to this phone number should be counted as a conversion that I'll maybe call phone call, right? Now, I do want to show you that as I scroll down through this page, the scroll depth and the scrolls steps were shown over here, right? So I'm just going to hit I'm just going to click on the phone number right now, and I'm going to hit cancel. Now, if I go back to the Tag Assistant, what you can see is that 2 new events have appeared here in the Google Tag Manager debug view, which is a link click and a outbound click, right? That's going to be one of my conversions. So basically the link click is going to be my conversion, and what I want to do is look at the second tab right here, which is called variables, and I'm going to find that there's a variable that's called click text, which is sometimes the easiest one to use, and this is what I want to grab. And how am I going to grab it? I'm going to show you up next. So basically the click text contains the phone number, right? I could also use the click URL, which I see has tel and the two dots and the number, but basically any of these will work. So I will do it with the click text because this is the easiest to generate, right? For now, let's just leave it like that. Let's go back to our Google Tag Manager instance. And in here, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to hit to create a new tag, right? And this tag is going to be called, I'm just going to call it phone call tag. If I can spell that correctly, there we go, phone call tag. And then I'm going to choose to generate it as a Google Analytics for event, right? Now, keep in mind, this is going to make sense in a little bit. So just let's create it as a Google Analytics event. So GA4 and GA4 event. And in here, I'm going to place the measurement ID from Google Analytics. So let's go back to Google Analytics. Right now, we're in Analytics. Perfect. I'm going to go to Admin. I'm going to go to my data collection and modification and go to data streams. And in here, I'm going to select my business right here. Keep in mind that this is already getting data. So it says data collection is not active for our website, but it is. So don't worry about it. Let's just choose the measurement ID. Go back to Google Tag Manager, and I'm going to input the measurement ID right there. There we go. So the Google tag was found in the container. And now I'm actually going to rename this event. So I'll go back to this window and call it phone call, right? All right, but we're not done yet. What is essentially going to trigger this? So that's where the step that we did a while ago is going to serve us. So I'm going to hit triggering right here, and I'm going to create a new trigger. So basically, we do see that there's yeah. Let's just create a trigger, and we're gonna look for the plus sign right here. I'm gonna create a new trigger, and this is gonna be called phone call trigger. Now, I promise you, all of this is gonna make sense in a little bit. We're gonna tie in all of these loose ends. So let's just trigger configuration, and let's click on that. And then what I'm gonna do is go to click, and then all elements. And if you remember, well, actually, before you remember that, let's click on some clicks. And then now you'll remember that we had a couple of variables in the previous debug instance, such as click classes, click element, click URL, and click text, right? So click text was one of the ones that we're going to use, right? So we'll use click text, and we'll just leave it as contains, right? For now, this is going to be an easy setup. And then I'm going to go back to the tag assistant that I had opened on the new tab, and then I'm going to, yes, remember, we're in the variables tab, and we're going to look for the click text, and then I'm going to select this thing right here without the quotations, right? So let's just copy it and come back to the Google Tag Manager and paste it in the trigger. Now let's just click on save. Perfect. So now we do actually have an event, and let's just click save again, because now we're going to save the tag of this event. Perfect. So now let's do the following. I'm going to close the debug assistance view that we had. I'm going to close this right here, and then I'm going to preview again this change. So I'm just going to preview it. We got the same side, exactly same, and let's just click on connect. Okay, perfect. What I'm going to proceed to do now is well, basically, yes. Let's open up the site again, and then I'm going to go scroll all the way down, right? And let's test. If we click on this right here, we're going to see something great happening. So I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to cancel it, and then I'm going to go back to my debug view. So now you see that one amazing thing actually happened. So the phone call tag was fired. There we go. So this was fired, which means that it is working, which means that that conversion has now been created in Google Tag Manager. But it does not end here. In the next video, I'm going to show you how that translates into us looking at it from the Google Analytics section of it, and then we're going to be able to then import it into Google Ads in a later step. But for now, do know that if you want to generate a click-based tag, this is what you have to do. And before we end this video, I'm just going to go back to Google Tag Manager and make sure that you do this one last step. Click on submit, and then you can name your change as maybe phone. In this case, I'll just do phone call tag created, and then I'll just copy that into the description and hit publish. This is a very important step because then it means that everything that we did is now published, and in the next video I'm going to show you how to look at this in Google Analytics 4. So we're back now, and we're now on GA4. So we went to our account on GA4, and if we go to admin right here on the left side, let's go to that gear icon. Let's go to data display, and let's well, actually before that we go to data collection, property details. All right, no, we're fine going to events right here, right? You will see that in here very few events have taken place, and these are actually events that will be happening on our website that we may want to set as conversions, which are now called key events in GA4, but they serve essentially the same purpose, and you can interchangeably call them either conversions or key events. For GA4 it is the exact same thing. So what I'm going to do is just go I want to show you that in here we're going to see what is going on the page. You'll see something like first visit, page view, session start, and a couple more types of these IDs, but I promise you they're just there for you to know what has happened. And this doesn't mean that there's 3 people on the website or that there has been 3 visits. It just means that there's 1 first visit, there's been 1 page view, and there's been 1 session start for the date range selected, and that's pretty much it. So let's now go to the debug view on the left side. And here's what I want to show you. You can see that the phone call event that we actually generated a while ago via Google Tag Manager is seen on this debug view. So in essence, now we're able to look at how this particular event from GTM is now seen in GA4. What we're then going to do once we are able to, because it takes a little bit of time to load, and actually this will be shown on the next video, is that you will be enabling this key event as a conversion. So I'm actually, let's not wait for the next video. Let's actually see if we have something today. All right, I guess we will have to wait. This conversion is not ready yet to be seen as an event here. It has taken place. However, we can see that since it's very new, it is still in the debug view, but now you're able to actually detect that an event has happened. The event we created in Google Tag Manager is now seen on GA4, and once we see it in here in the data display section, which we're not able to see it right now just because well, it just hasn't loaded yet. It may take up to 24 hours to 48 hours to do so. Once it is done, we're actually going to select it and mark it as a conversion, and then we'll have our official GA4 conversion created for our first type of conversion tracking, which is click-based. So now that we're back at in GA4, we're going to go to this left side panel and go to admin. And then we're going to go into where it says data display, and then we're going to choose events. In here now you'll see that the 2 conversions that I generated via Google Tag Manager, that they show up here, right? So I'm just going to toggle them as and mark them as key events. Thank you, and the phone call conversion. And now that's pretty much it. So if I hover over to the key events section, just below the events under data display, you will see that now they're over here, and they'll begin to start counting them as conversions, and that's pretty much all that needs to be done on the GA4 side for now. Now we're going to go through the process of setting up a Google Ads account from scratch that we can then bid the new conversions that we've generated for this purpose. We can now bid on them via any Google Ads campaigns that we create, whether for search, display, you name it, right? A performance max and any type of campaign. So let's create a new Google Ads account right here. Right, I'm going to pretty much do a test or demo account for the moment. I'm going to skip campaign creation. I'm going to leave some defaults in there. I'm going to just choose the United States as my country. I'll do Chicago time. I'm going to choose the US dollar as my currency, and then I'm just going to say no to this and no to that, and then I'm going to click on submit. Now I'm just going to explore my account. We don't want to create a campaign from scratch in this course right now on Google Ads. This is a course for us to actually focus on the conversion tracking aspect of things, right? So in this very example, I'm not going to create a campaign from scratch, but what I'm going to do is go to the admin, well, actually to this setting section and go to goals. And then we're going to click on conversions, and we're just going to look at the summary right there, right? So now we're going to be importing conversions from Google Analytics. So I'm going to choose a new conversion, and then I'm going to click on import conversions from Google Analytics for properties, and then I'm going to choose web, and then I'm going to click on continue. And now you will see that this is not yet integrated, right? However, there is a link here to my data manager, which is where I would actually link my business's GA4. So I actually see it right here, business landing page GA4. So I'm going to link it to my Google. I'm going to just leave those on for the moment. We don't want to worry too much about that. And then now my account is linked, my GA4 and my Google Ads are linked. So don't worry too much about following the flow of where to locate this. There's, as you can see, there was just a click of a link and it took me straight in there, right? So now let's go back to goals. Let's go to conversions. Let's go to summary. And then now let's re-import our conversion action. So we'll choose new conversion action. We'll click on import from Google Analytics over here, and then we choose GA4 properties, and then the web. Now let's continue. And as you can see, we're still missing a couple GA4 events, right? So let's now just make sure if we run into this error that we either refresh the page so that these events load. And there we go. There, we didn't need to take any further steps. This is actually something that is quite normal. It may take a little bit of a while to load all of the events, but they're here now, so we're good to go. You'll see that I'm going to select the phone call conversion event and the thank you conversion event, which are the ones that we actually generated previously, right? So let's import and continue. And there we go. Now I'm going to click on done. And voila, now we're actually ready to bid on these conversions. So whenever now I create a campaign in Google Ads, I can actually bid on the phone call or the thank you page conversion by basically including them in the conversion goals of the specific campaigns that I set up. Now, just like we created our previous phone call conversion, which is actually click-based, what I wanted to think about is basically a external link-based conversion action, right? And what this specifically entails is that there will be some cases in which you may want to track people clicking a button that may take them somewhere else. For example, if you're selling a book, but it is located perhaps in Amazon or somewhere else, you're not going to be able to know whenever somebody actually visited that specific page unless you do want to track from a button click that leads to that external site, and that is definitely possible via Google Tag Manager. So we're going to set that up for our business, right? And I'm going to go back to the tags in Google Tag Manager, and in here I'm going to create a new Google tag. Google tag, which I'm going to, well, actually just a tag, which I'm going to call a click me tag. Now, in this case, it will lead to an external site, but we don't want to care too much about that specific site because we can't track conversions on that site, but we can definitely track a button click that leads to that external site if it is located on our website, right? So let's configure the tag now. We're going to make a Google Analytics tag, which is going to be a GA4 event. And then I'm just going to go back to my Google Analytics and I'm going to go to my data collection and modification section under the settings. And then I'm going to go to data streams, and then I'll go back to that multi-screen. Don't worry too much about this. We know that it is definitely getting data. We'll choose the measurement ID, and then we go back to Google Tag Manager, and then we'll place it in here. Right? So now I'm going to call this the click me event, and actually I'm just going to put external click me, right? So then we're going to set up a trigger. Now, in order for us to set up that trigger, I'm just going to save this tag first, right? I'm just going to save it without a trigger for now. And what I'm actually going to do is go back to the overview section, and I'm going to go to my website, grab the URL, come back to Google Tag Manager, and click on preview on the top right corner here. And then you will see that I'm going to want to test out that specific conversion. So let's, well, actually, before testing the conversion itself or creating it, I'm going to test out my website, right? So I'm going to click on connect, and it's going to set up another screen for me, right? In this case, and as you saw on in the past video, I'm going to have to choose I'm going to have to click on that specific button that I want triggered, right? So you will see that I did purposefully, I'm just going to move this out of the way, created this click me button, right? Which if you click on it, it's going to load you into another external website, which is a blog of mine, but definitely it will still be trackable in GTM whenever I do that click. So let's actually go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to click on this click me button, which actually opened up a new site. And if I go back to my tag assistant, you will see that the click on that specific button was actually triggered. So let's look at the variables now. It was the 7th action. So let's look at the variables. And you will see that in there we got click text is click me, right? So I'm just going to grab click me right here and then go back to Google Tag Manager. And now I know the trigger is click me, right? So let's go to create that trigger. Let's click on new, and let's call it the click me trigger. And then let's now choose the trigger configuration, make it a click element. So all elements here under clicks, all elements, and then some clicks. And then I'm going to select click text. And now click text contains any of click me, just like that. And then I'm going to save it. And what I'm going to do now is go back to my tags and go to the click me tag that I had created. And now I'm going to choose the trigger. So I'm going to go to triggering, select it, and then select the correct trigger. And then I'm going to save it. Now what I actually want to do is submit these changes. And I'm going to put click me conversion. And I'm going to select that and paste it in the description as well. And then I'm just going to hit publish. So now if I go back and close my tag assistant, choose my website again, select it, go back to my workspace, and then click on preview over here again, you will see that now if I, okay, it's already pasted in, so let's connect it. Let's connect to it. And you will see one thing whenever we click that button. Are you ready? So let's now you see that these are the steps that have been taken on the website, the actions for now. And let's go to this debug view now. I'm just going to kind of close this and move it out of the way. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on click me. So it opened up a block again. But if I go back to my tag assistant window, you'll now see that the click me tag was fired. So what does that mean? That the event was created, right? And so if you look at the click me tag succeeded. So this means that the conversion action is now ready to go. Now, if I want to go now to GA4 and then go back to where it says debug view. So let's go to admin, and you will scroll all the way down where it says data display and then debug view. You will see that the event that is called external click me, which is the one that I generated, is now showing up, right? I did kind of change the naming convention a little bit just so that I could see it differently on GA4, but it essentially is the whole click me tag with the external click me GA4 event name, and that is triggered by the click me trigger that we generated. And once we published it, we're now able to see it. And then just like the other key events that we already set up, we'll be able to see it under events over here at some point. Right now it is too early, so it is not showing here, but we can wait between 24 and 48 hours and we'll have it here to toggle it as a key event, which will later be shown in this section called key events on the left side, and we'd be good to go. Now we're at a bonus section, which is basically how to track conversions only based upon a HubSpot form submission. Now, if you don't know about HubSpot yet, it is basically a CRM, but it goes way beyond that. I would say that it is pretty much a customer service, sales, and marketing tool that pretty much becomes your whole business's backend. That's what I would call it. But basically, my favorite recipe for tracking HubSpot forms is, and generating a conversion thereof is actually this one right here from a great marketer called Julius Fedorovicius, who actually has done the whole work for us here, right? So basically, all we need to do is follow these steps, and I'm going to show you just how to do that right now in this video so that you can apply it and see what it looks like on your end. So let's do that right now. So the very first thing is that you've acquired HubSpot now. Because it has a free version, you can create forms via that free version, right? So in here, I'm going to go to HubSpot. I already created this form, right? And before I do anything else, I'm going to show you how I got here, right? So basically, when you create a HubSpot account, you want to go to the marketing section, and then you'll go probably to lead capture and then to forms. There we go. And now we're in the same page that we were just a bit ago, but basically that's it. I created a new form, which is basically this one. You would go through the steps by clicking on create form, but we've already created it. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and there's a ton of documentation on that. But this is a very intuitive platform overall. So I'm just going to click on edit for that specific form I created, and then what I'm going to do is actually click on this embed button that you see here. So I made a very quick form, by the way. It is called just a business landing page for this specific course. First name, last name, email, and country. That's all that I really want. And what I actually want to track when I set up the conversion is just this submission on its own. I don't want to tie it to a thank you page load because I want to actually just display a message once the form is submitted. So I don't want to redirect to a thank you page. And I just overall want to know people that submitted this form specifically right away, right? So let's click on embed. And then I'm going to choose to embed code. And then I'm going to copy that code. Now I'm going to go back to my Duda website builder. Now keep in mind that this may change depending on what CMS or website builder you're using, but let's for now just go here. I did add a custom HTML section, and then once I click, that loads, I'm going to actually paste it in, right? So I just pasted the code for my HubSpot form. So I'm going to update this now. And then I'm going to close this specific section right here, now that it's updated, and I'm going to click on republish. So now if I open up my site on another tab, I should be able to see that all the way down here we have the form that I generated. Keep in mind this doesn't look extremely great, but it is a very good starting point, right? So now let's go back to our article from the Analytics Mania team right here from Julius. And so you will see that this is what we need to do. We gotta download this JSON file, right? So basically we can either save as, let's actually save it as, save link as, there we go, a text file, and I'm just going to put it on my desktop and we'll be golden there. Okay, perfect. So we've downloaded that, and now we're going to import that JSON file into GTM and create our own GA4 measurement ID, and then preview it and publish it. So that's going to be quite easy, but let me walk you through those steps. So let's go to Google Tag Manager again, right? And what we want to do here is actually import that container. How is that accomplished? We'll just go to the admin section right here. We'll wait for it to load. And then we're going to import a container. Now I'm going to choose a container file, right? And then I'm going to look for that HubSpot recipe that I just downloaded. So there it is. And then what I will do is actually merge the ones that I have already set up, and I'm going to choose to override conflicting tags, which is all right. And oh, by the way, I forgot to select my existing workspace, which is the default workspace, and that's pretty much all we need to do. So you see that 2 new tags are going to be created, one new trigger, 1 new variable, and that's all that needs to be done. So now I'll confirm this. But we're not really done yet. Now, so this whole container well, this GTM container and this import that we just did from the Analytics Mania team actually did a ton of work for us just now and with just a couple clicks. Don't mind all of this at the moment. What we want to do is just go back to tags, and you'll see here this tag that is called HubSpot Form Listener, and this GA4 event form submission tags were created by that import because we know that we already had the click me tag, the Google tag, and the phone call tag, as well as the thank you tag, right? So now I want to go into this HubSpot Form Listener, and then in here just confirm that everything is correct, because we actually don't need to change anything in here, and we maybe just want to go into the GA4 form submission. And okay, yes, perfect. This is what we actually want to edit. Now, let's go to our Google Analytics again. By now, you should know how to get to the data stream section and actually selecting your measurement ID, right? So just a couple clicks there, going back to Google Tag Manager. And then here's where we want to paste in our measurement ID. And there we go. That's pretty much all we need, right? And so, yep, let's now save it. Save it. Perfect. And then the triggers are golden. There we go. The tags are there, working. Let's wait for the triggers to load actually. There we go. This HubSpot form success trigger is being fired on all events, and it is being used under the GA4 event tag that we created. So by the way, I'm just doing some quick QA on this. But we're basically done here. So I actually want to preview that. But before that, I'm going to actually submit these changes because I know and trust, and I'm certain that this is going to work, right? So I'm just going to put HubSpot Listener as my update. By the way, there is a lot of documentation out there on best practices for creating these GTM documentations, but keep in mind that we're just exemplifying it for this course, which is an introductory course, right? And so we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with processes or over documentation of things that we're doing, right? So let's now preview this, and well, actually, let's go back to our website. Let's preview this site now in Google Tag Manager. Let's go back to it and then hit preview, just like we've been doing. And we're gonna just wait for it to load. There we go. Okay, the tag assistant has loaded, and then let's click on connect. Definitely, right? So now we know that a new window is going to pop up, and basically this is the one that we're going to test out. And so let's go back here. Let's you see that the tags got fired, okay, but the event has not yet fired, right? So let's actually do that. Let's go, and it's where it says build a link. Sorry, we're back on our website, and we've tested out those other buttons. Let's now test out the form, right? So I'm just going to fill in the form, right? Fuentes. I'm going to select a very random email, and then I'm going to choose my country as Mexico, right? And now you should be ready to see the magic that's going to happen when I click submit. Thanks for submitting the form. All right, so that was reloaded, right? It didn't take me to a thank you page, although if I did do that for this form in HubSpot, if I configure that, we would actually get it counted as a thank you conversion, just like we did with the other conversion that we set up. But right now, that's all we needed, right? So thanks for submitting the form. It just gets an inline text message, and let's just go and look at it. So form submission, yes, you will see that a GA4 event called form submission has now been triggered. If we look at the Google Analytics tag, we see that as well, that the form submission analytics hit was done. And what that means is that when I go back to my GA4, right, let's go back to GA4, let's go to data display, let's go to events, and in there, let's go to debug view. And we do see that this form submission event has been triggered. Now I'm able to see my HubSpot form submissions being tracked as conversions in GA4, and we can also proceed to then import them into Google Ads, just as we will see in the other video. So thank you for taking my course. You probably found that this is probably one of the easiest courses in digital marketing that you will have ever taken, and that gets you a very long way in actually implementing conversion tracking. I did hear from one of my strategists when I was actually starting in digital marketing, and he said to me, conversion tracking makes or breaks a marketer. And so right now, as you can see, without needing to know any code or web development or programming or any programming language whatsoever, I don't even know if I'm confusing the two, but without you being a developer, you can actually implement conversion tracking or track conversions via Google Tag Manager very simply. And with the help of GA4, that gets even more robust when it comes to your analytics and reporting. And importing them into Google Ads is as easy as 1, 2, 3, and you can actually now bid more efficiently, more effectively on your Google Ads campaigns. And if that is the only value you get from this course, then congratulations. That was the mission of this specific course, and I'm very glad and I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, so coming back to just the code for the Google Tag Manager, our Duda editor allowed us to actually just input the tag ID, which was very easy. But in the case that you're using any other type of CMS, which won't maybe allow you to fully just place the ID and you actually need to copy and paste the code, this is how you would actually do it, right? So let's do the same example. So you would get this code right here to install Google Tag Manager. You would copy this in the head. So that would be just clicking on this snippet right there. And then you would go back to your site, go to SEO and settings. This is Duda, by the way. But then you can go to head HTML. And then right here, you see where it says head. That's where you would paste it in. And then you would just hit save, right? And then come back to Google Tag Manager, click on the opening body code right here, the snippet, copy it, and then go to the body right here, and then you would save it. And then that's pretty much all that you need. Now you would be able to install Google Tag Manager by using code. So this is example number 1, and this is actually an inflatable games manufacturing company located in Mexico. And now you can see in their backend a few things come out that stand out by them having implemented within the past 3 months. I have right here last 90 days the conversion tracking implementation that I did for them, right? So you do see that in the filtered campaigns, which are just the search campaigns right now, they actually have 17 conversions. So these folks went from having no conversions or actually just having traffic driven to their site to actually being able to track conversions based on one, this is like the thank you page conversion, and then this is coupled with the GA4 HubSpot form submission conversion, which is a bonus in this course, right? So why do they do that? Because they also have other forms that are HubSpot forms, which are not entirely related to people requesting a quote. There may be a subscription to the newsletter, downloading of a specific asset, etc. And so that is why we separated those types of conversions. Now you do see that as for these this implementation, within the last 90 days, they've only spent 1,418,000 pesos, right? That's sorry, 1,418 pesos. That's pretty much, maybe less than, it's certainly less than $100, right? And they got 17 leads just out of the search campaigns, right? And their cost per lead or cost per conversion is actually crazy low, like 83 pesos, which probably translates to about maybe $4 to $5, right? So this implementation does work because it'll get your Google Ads account to optimize towards actually achieving conversions, right? So that is essentially what we want. And conversions pretty much are conversations that will happen, people that will submit a form, people that want to get in touch with your business, and that is the first step for us in actually getting some business, right? And so this is the first example. You will see that they also did that implementation. They created the GA4 conversions via GTM as well, and then imported into Google Ads, and then they're bidding on these conversions that they have set up, which are the request quote and the form submission right here, all via Google Ads, and that is working for them at this moment. Now here's another example with an e-commerce store, right? So in the case of these guys, they were doing an experiment via Performance Max, which was actually quite successful, and there were a couple things that stood out, right? So one of them is that the range was about, from September 5th to the 30th, right? So about 25 days or so of this experiment running on their site, right? And then basically they were doing a budget of $3 a day, right? And then what they did was import these conversions, right? So for them, it is relevant to know each of these four conversions, right? Even though the main conversion we could say is the purchase, they want to know people who added to a cart, who began checkout, and who actually submitted any type of form just for their metrics. And in this case, they wanted to be able to bid on those conversions via a Performance Max catch-all Google Merchant Center based campaign, right? So in this case, they did that, and you will see a couple things, right? Like the whole cost of this implementation was or implemented campaign was $15 within that time frame, right? So that's pretty cheap, right? Because they got 19 clicks, and they even, when it comes to the very bottom of the funnel conversion, they got two conversions. So they sold two products, and which is just great, right? So selling two products, right, and spending less than 16 bucks on a campaign as such, it does tell you that this is a campaign that will be very cost efficient and actually drive a conversion rate of right here 47%. So the main thing to note from this type of campaign that was implemented for them is that conversion tracking made all the difference. You see, they imported via Google, via GA4, just like we set it up in this course. They imported their conversions into Google Ads and then were able to bid on those conversions, right, via Google Ads whenever they were crafting and running the campaign, right? So the key takeaway here is this, that conversion tracking works and helps you to maximize your budget and also get results faster and better just by that simple conversion tracking implementation.